I lost the fortune, but I want you, the millionaire declared, and her response changes everything. When Ethan Walker got the call saying his father had died, he was in a crucial business meeting in the heart of Manhattan, New York. If he hadn't answered that phone, his life would have taken a very different turn. Ethan was 32, known in the New York business world as a calculating, ambitious man. He worked for the family company, Walker Industries, but never had a close relationship with his dad, Mr. Richard Walker, a powerful, distant magnate. They barely spoke in the last 5 years since Ethan had moved out to try and build something for himself, far from his father's shadow. The call came from Gloria, Mr. Walker's executive assistant. She was weeping. "Mr. Ethan, I have to tell you, your father passed away this morning. It was very sudden. His heart." Her voice trembled. Ethan was silent for a few seconds. He didn't know what to feel. Sadness, relief, guilt, perhaps all at once. "I understand. Thank you for letting me know, Gloria. I'm going to my father's house now." He hung up, grabbed his car keys, and left without a word to his colleagues. Driving through the heavy New York City traffic, Ethan tried to organize his thoughts. His father had always been a tough man who valued results over feelings. Ethan grew up trying to impress him, but it was never enough. Slowly, he stopped trying. The Walker Mansion was in Bel Air, a prestigious neighborhood in Los Angeles. When Ethan arrived, a few people were already at the door. The family's lawyer, former employees, and Gloria. Everyone greeted him respectfully, but Ethan felt something was off. Their gazes were different. There was pity in them. He walked into the house. Everything was as he remembered it. Dark, heavy furniture, Persian rugs, expensive paintings on the walls. But the house felt empty, cold, lifeless. That's when he saw Maria Santos. She was in the hallway leading to his father's study, holding a mop and bucket. She wore a simple apron, and her dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail. Maria was 29, but her tired face showed she'd lived more than her age suggested. She'd been working as a housekeeper at the mansion for 3 years. When their eyes met, Maria quickly lowered her head and tried to step aside. "Excuse me, Mr. Ethan, I was just finishing up." "Keep going, it's fine," Ethan replied automatically, but something about her caught his attention. Maybe it was the respectful way she spoke, or the genuine sadness he noticed in her eyes. Maria seemed truly affected by Mr. Walker's death. Gloria called Ethan into the study. Inside, the family lawyer, a gray-haired man named Mr. Reynolds, sat behind a large mahogany desk. He motioned for Ethan to sit. "Ethan, I'm very sorry for your loss. I know you had your differences, but he always spoke highly of you." Ethan didn't believe it, but just nodded. "I have to read the will. Your father left very clear instructions on how he wanted his assets distributed." Ethan expected to inherit the company, the mansion, the bank accounts. He was the only son, after all. But as the lawyer read the document, Ethan's face went pale. Richard Walker had left his entire fortune, the company, and the mansion to Maria Santos, the housekeeper. Ethan's breath hitched. He read and reread the words on the paper. It made no sense. "This is a mistake. It has to be." Ethan shot up from the chair. "It's not a mistake, Ethan. Your father was very clear. He left a letter for you. Here it is." The lawyer handed him a sealed envelope. Ethan opened it with trembling hands. His father's handwriting was firm and direct, as always. "Ethan, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I left everything to Maria because she treated me with more humanity in the last 3 years than you did your entire life. She cared for me when I was sick. She listened when I needed to talk. She kept me company when the loneliness was heavy. You only showed up when you needed money or my approval. Learn from this. Life isn't measured by what you achieve, but by how you treat the people around you. I love you, son." Ethan felt a mix of anger, shame, and bewilderment. He walked out of the study without saying a word, passed through the hall, and saw Maria again. She stood near the door, her eyes wide. It was obvious Gloria had already told her about the will. "I didn't know anything about this, Mr. Ethan, I swear," Maria said in a hushed, frightened voice. Ethan stared at her. He wanted to scream, to accuse her of manipulating his father, but something in her gaze stopped him. There was honesty there, and fear, but honesty. "We need to talk tomorrow, right here," Ethan said before leaving the mansion. Driving back to his apartment, located in the artsy Silver Lake neighborhood, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about who this woman was and how she managed to gain the trust of a man as closed off as his father. Most importantly, what was he going to do now? Ethan didn't sleep that night. He lay on his couch staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out how his life had been turned upside down in a matter of hours. He always assumed that when his father died, he'd inherit everything. Not because he loved his dad, but because it was expected, normal. But now, everything he thought he knew about his own father was in doubt. The next morning, Ethan returned to the Bel Air mansion. This time he was calmer, but still confused. He needed answers, and the only person who could give them was Maria. When he arrived, the house was silent. Gloria was gone, leaving only Maria who was cleaning the living room with slow, meticulous movements. Seeing him enter, she stopped immediately. "Good morning, Mr. Ethan." "Good morning, can we talk?" Ethan tried to keep a neutral tone. Maria nodded and set the mop aside. They sat on the back patio where a small iron table and two chairs overlooked the manicured garden, with colorful flowers and a stone fountain. It was a peaceful, almost forgotten spot in the sprawling house. Ethan took a deep breath. "Maria, I need to understand how you knew my father." Maria looked down, as if recalling a memory. "I started working here 3 years ago. Before that, I cleaned offices downtown. One day an agency sent me here. Your father needed someone to clean and organize. I accepted because the pay was better." "And how did you become close?" Ethan asked, trying not to sound accusatory. Maria offered a small, sad smile. "At first, Mr. Walker barely noticed me. He was very closed off, always in his study, always busy. But one day about 2 years ago, I found him sitting alone in the living room, looking at an old photograph. He looked so lost. I asked him if he was okay. He didn't answer right away, but after a few minutes, he started talking. He said the photo was of you when you were a boy. He said he regretted not being a better father." Ethan felt a knot tighten in his chest. He never imagined his father thought about that. Maria continued, "From that day on, Mr. Walker started talking to me. Not every day, but once in a while. He told me about his work, how difficult it was to run the company alone, and sometimes he talked about you. He said he was proud of you, but didn't know how to show it." "He never showed it," Ethan murmured. "I know, and he knew it too. I think that's why he was so lonely." Maria paused, then added, "When he got sick, a year ago, I started helping him more. I brought him his medicine, made him light meals, stayed with him after the doctors left. He didn't want anyone to know he was frail, not even you." Ethan closed his eyes. He hadn't known his father was sick. No one had told him. Or maybe they tried, but he was too preoccupied to notice. "Why did he leave everything to you?" Ethan asked, looking directly at her. "I don't know. I swear I never asked for anything. He never mentioned wills or inheritances to me. I just did my job and tried to be kind to him." Tears welled up in Maria's eyes. "Mr. Ethan, I don't want any of this. I wasn't born rich. I don't know how to run companies or mansions. All of this should be yours." Ethan remained silent, observing her. She seemed sincere. There was no greed in her eyes, only fear and confusion. "So, what do you want?" Ethan asked. "I just want to get back to my life. I have a 7-year-old daughter, Clara. She lives with me in a small apartment in East LA, a neighborhood with a high concentration of working-class people. I work to give her the best. If I could choose, I'd hand all of this over to you and go back to my old life." Ethan was taken aback. He didn't expect that response. "You have a daughter?" "Yes, Clara's father left us when she was 2. It's just her and me now." Ethan felt a strange feeling, respect perhaps. Maria wasn't an opportunist. She was a struggling mother who had, by chance, won the trust of a lonely man. "Maria, I'm not going to fight you for this inheritance. But I'm also not going to stop investigating why my father did this. I'll review everything he left behind, and if something is wrong, I'll fix it." "I understand," Maria replied quietly. Ethan got up to leave, but before walking out, he turned back. "One last thing. Did you really care about him?" Maria looked at him seriously. "Yes, Mr. Walker was a difficult man, but he was good to me. He respected me, and I felt that despite everything, he just wanted someone to care. Maybe that's why he grew fond of me. I didn't judge him. I was just there." Ethan nodded and left the mansion. On the drive back, he couldn't stop thinking. Maybe his father wasn't crazy. Maybe he just found in Maria something Ethan could never give him: attention, patience, and presence. Now Ethan had to decide what to do with that truth. In the following days, Ethan buried himself in the documents Mr. Reynolds had given him. He spent hours reading contracts, old letters, and financial records. He wanted to find something that proved Maria had manipulated his father. But the more he read, the more he realized there was nothing unusual. Mr. Walker knew exactly what he was doing when he changed the will. But then Ethan found something he didn't expect: a diary. It was tucked away in a locked drawer in his father's study. Ethan had to force it open. Inside was a leather-bound notebook with pages as yellowed with age. His father's handwriting filled every line. Ethan began to read. The first entries were about the company: tough decisions, business successes, and failures. But as he went on, the tone shifted. Mr. Walker began writing about loneliness, about regrets, and then the first mentions of Maria appeared. Today, Maria brought me coffee without me asking. It was a simple gesture, but it made me realize that it's been years since anyone did something for me without expecting anything in return. She doesn't know it, but it meant a lot. Another entry, months later. I talked to Maria about Ethan today. She asked why I don't speak to him. I told her it's complicated. She said maybe it's simple, and I'm the one making it complicated. She's right, but how do I talk to him now after all this time? Ethan felt a lump in his throat. He never imagined his father thought of him that way. The last entry in the diary was a week before Mr. Walker's death. I've made my decision. I'm leaving everything to Maria. Not because Ethan doesn't deserve it, but because he needs to learn that value doesn't come from money. Maria taught me that. She has nothing, yet she gave me more than I could ever buy. I hope Ethan understands, and if he doesn't now, maybe he will when he's older. I love him, even though I never knew how to say it. Ethan closed the diary and rested his head in his hands. He cried for the first time since he learned of his father's death. It wasn't anger, it was sorrow. Sorrow for all that was lost, for all the conversations they never had. He needed to talk to Maria again. Tell us what city and state you are watching this video from. I'll read all the comments. Ethan returned to the mansion that afternoon. Maria was tidying up the rooms. When she saw him, she stopped and tensed up. Mr. Ethan, is something wrong? I found my father's diary, Ethan said, his voice rough. I read all of it. Maria stood quietly, waiting. You were right. He truly valued you and thought of me more than I ever realized. Maria approached slowly. Your father was a proud man, Mr. Ethan, but he loved you. He told me so several times. Why didn't he ever tell me? Ethan asked, his voice cracking. I don't think he knew how, Maria replied gently. Sometimes the strongest people struggle the most to show weakness, and love is allowing yourself to be weak, isn't it? Ethan looked at Maria. She possessed a simple, yet profound wisdom. He understood why his father trusted her. Maria, I no longer want to fight you. My father made a decision, and I'm going to respect it, but I'd like to make you a proposal. What kind of proposal? Maria asked cautiously. Let's run the company together. You inherited everything, but you lack experience. I have the experience, but I lost the inheritance. If we join forces, we can make it work. And who knows, maybe along the way, I'll learn to be the person my father wanted me to be. Maria was stunned. But I don't know anything about business. I'll teach you, and you teach me how to be human again. Ethan smiled a little, the first time in days. Maria thought for a moment, then nodded. Okay, but on one condition. Any major decision, we make it together. No secrets. No secrets, Ethan agreed. They shook hands, sealing an unexpected pact. In that moment, something shifted between them. It wasn't yet friendship, but it was a start. In the following weeks, Ethan and Maria began working together. He took her to the company office, introduced her to the employees, and explained contracts. Maria listened attentively, asking simple but intelligent questions. Ethan noticed she was a quick study. And in the midst of this process, something unexpected happened. Ethan started to admire Maria, not just for her natural intelligence, but for her strength. She raised a daughter alone, worked hard, and still found time to be kind to others. One day, Ethan invited her for coffee at a local cafe in the trendy arts district. It was an old spot with wooden tables and the smell of fresh pastry. They sat near the window. "Maria, can I ask you something personal?" Ethan said. "Of course. Are you happy?" Maria smiled, but it was a tired smile. "I don't know if I'm happy, Mr. Ethan, but I'm grateful. I have my daughter, I have my health, I have work. Happiness is something I look for every day, but I don't always find it." "And you?" Ethan was surprised by the question. He used to think he was happy. He had money, success, freedom. But now I realize I was empty. I had nothing that truly mattered. "And what matters to you?" Maria asked, looking him in the eye. Ethan hesitated, but then answered, "Connection with people, with the ones I care about. I spent so much time building things that I forgot to build relationships." Maria nodded as if she understood perfectly. In that moment, Ethan realized something that frightened him. He was falling in love with Maria, and that would change everything. In the following months, Ethan and Maria's relationship deepened. They spent almost all day together, organizing the company, visiting clients, making important decisions. And with every conversation, with every glance, Ethan felt something growing inside him. But there was a problem. Maria still saw him only as Mr. Walker's son. She was respectful, professional, but maintained an emotional distance. Ethan didn't know if she felt the same, and that made him insecure. One day during a company meeting, one of the oldest directors, Mr. Davison, made a comment that hurt Maria. "With all due respect, Miss Santos, but you lack the background for this position. Many of us have been here for decades. It's not fair for an outsider with no experience to make decisions about the company's future." Maria flushed but didn't respond. Ethan, however, rose from his chair. "Mr. Davison, Maria inherited this company because my father trusted her, and I trust her too. If that's not enough for you, maybe it's time you look for another place to work." Silence filled the room. Mr. Davison swallowed hard but said nothing more. The meeting continued, but Maria was clearly affected. Afterward, when they were alone in the study, Maria thanked Ethan. "Thank you for defending me, but he's right. I don't have a degree. Sometimes I feel like an imposter." "You're no imposter," Ethan said firmly. "You're honest, dedicated, and intelligent. And most importantly, you care about people. That's worth more than any degree." Maria looked at him, and for the first time, Ethan saw something different in her eyes. Maybe gratitude, maybe something more. "Why are you doing this, Ethan? Why are you helping me so much?" Ethan took a deep breath. It was now or never. "Because I care about you, Maria. Not just as a business partner. I've fallen in love with you." Maria froze. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. "I know it's complicated," Ethan continued. "I know you might think I'm crazy or that I'm confusing gratitude with love, but I'm not. I admire who you are. I admire your strength, your kindness, your courage, and I wanted you to know." Maria took a step back, hand over her chest. "Ethan, I don't know what to say. You're a good man. You've changed so much since we met, but I have a daughter. I have a complicated life, and I don't know if I'm ready for this." "I'm not asking for an answer now," Ethan said calmly. "I just wanted you to know how I feel." Maria nodded, still confused, and left the study. Ethan was left alone, looking out the window at the busy LA streets. He didn't know what he expected, but at least he had been honest. And in a way, that was already liberating. In the following days, Maria kept her distance. She continued to work with Ethan, but avoided being alone with him. Ethan respected her space, but felt a constant sadness. He had risked everything by confessing his feelings, and now feared he had lost even the friendship. But then something unexpected happened. Maria invited him to meet her daughter. "I think you should meet her," Maria said softly. "If we're going to keep working together, and if you really care about me, then you need to know the most important part of my life." Ethan was thrilled. He accepted the invitation without hesitation. They met in a park in East LA on Saturday morning. It was a simple park with old swings and scattered trees. Clara was running across the grass, laughing loudly, her long hair flying in the wind. When she saw her mom, she ran towards her. "Mommy, you're late." "I'm sorry, sweetie. This is Ethan. He's my friend." Clara looked at Ethan with curiosity. Hi, Ethan. You're the owner of the big house where my mommy works. It was my dad's. Now it's your mom's, Ethan replied, smiling. Clara's eyes widened. Really? Then we're rich now. Maria laughed. It's not that simple, Clara. They spent the morning together. Ethan played with Clara, pushed her on the swing, and bought both of them ice cream. As he watched Maria smile, relaxed, he felt he was exactly where he was supposed to be. At the end of the day, when Clara went to play with other children, Maria sat next to Ethan on a park bench. Thank you for today. Clara likes you. I like her too. She's amazing, just like her mother, Tishal. Maria smiled but then turned serious. Ethan, I've thought a lot about what you told me, and I need to be honest with you. Ethan felt his heart race. I'm scared. Scared to let go, to trust, to be heard again. Clara's father left me when I needed him most. Since then, I've put up walls around myself. And you're asking me to tear them down. I understand, Ethan said, taking her hand. And I won't force anything, but I want you to know that I'm not going anywhere. No matter what happens, I'll be here. Maria looked at him and tears began to stream down her face. I think I'm falling in love with you too, Ethan, and that terrifies me. Ethan smiled, deeply moved. Then let's be terrified together. They embraced right there in that simple park, with Clara playing in the background. And for the first time in a long time, they both felt that the future could be different. 3 months later, Ethan and Maria were at a crucial point. The company was doing well, their relationship was growing, and Clara was already calling him Uncle Ethan. But something still bothered Ethan. He never fully got over the feeling of losing the inheritance, not because of the money, but for what it represented, his father's recognition. One day, Mr. Reynolds called Ethan with unexpected news. Ethan, we found another document from Mr. Walker. It was a sealed letter with instructions to open it 6 months after his death. Today marks exactly 6 months. Ethan immediately went to the lawyer's office. Maria accompanied him. Together, they opened the letter in Mr. Reynolds' presence. Mr. Walker's handwriting was firm. Ethan and Maria, if you are reading this together, it means you found a path. That makes me happy, even if I'm not here to see it. Ethan, I left everything to Maria, not to punish you, but to teach you. You were always intelligent, but you lacked heart. Maria has a heart to spare. I hope that by working together, you would learn from her and she from you. If you decide to stay together, whether in business or in life, I leave this final instruction. Split everything equally. The inheritance was always meant for both of you. I just needed you to get here on your own. Ethan and Maria stood silent, stunned. Mr. Walker had planned everything from the beginning. Mr. Reynolds handed them new documents formalizing the division. Ethan was now the legal co-owner of everything. But instead of feeling relief, Ethan felt something different. He looked at Maria and said, I don't want half, Maria. Maria's eyes widened. What? I don't want half because this was always yours. My father chose you for a reason, and I learned that an inheritance isn't about money, it's about values. You taught me that. And what I truly want isn't the company, it's you. Ethan knelt right there in the lawyer's office. He didn't have a ring, he hadn't prepared a speech, but he was certain. Maria Santos, will you marry me? Maria covered her face with her hands, crying. Clara, who was sitting in a chair in the corner of the room, shouted, Say yes, Mommy! Maria laughed through her tears and nodded. Yes, yes, I will. Ethan stood up and embraced her. Mr. Reynolds, who never showed emotion, smiled discreetly. 6 months later, Ethan and Maria were married in a simple ceremony at a beautiful garden in Pasadena. Clara was the flower girl. Gloria, Mr. Walker's former assistant, was also there, crying with emotion. During the reception, Ethan made a toast. I lost an inheritance, but I gained a family, and I learned that true value is in the people we love, not the things we own. My father taught me that in the most unexpected way, and I'm grateful. Maria smiled, taking his hand. And I learned that starting over doesn't mean erasing the past. It means building something new with the lessons we've learned. They toasted, surrounded by friends, and little Clara, who was dancing happily. Because sometimes losing everything is the only way to find what truly matters. And what matters isn't inherited, it's earned with the heart. The true legacy isn't in what we leave behind, but in what we plant in the hearts of others. Ethan lost an inheritance on paper, but gained a wealth no will could pass on, a family built with presence, respect, and true love. If you enjoyed this story, comment below, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Rich Hearts Revealed to hear the next one.